Hello again, in the latest installment of me doing things that you probably shouldn't do with your time, but I'm doing them anyway. I played Poptropica mostly because I was swindled by nostalgia. Released in 2007, Poptropica was a 2D online browser-based point-and-click, where you'd go to different locations and solve puzzles. These locations are typically split up by islands. You also play as this weird little guy. The art style is very distinct. I wouldn't call it good. I wouldn't call it bad. A large portion of the game's development was done by Jeff Kinney, I believe I'm pronouncing that right, and Jeff Kinney made the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series. Currently, there are a total of 54 islands in Poptropica, which is way more than I thought there would be at this point. Now, I played a little bit of Poptropica as a kid, and I don't remember much, gonna be honest. I do remember it controlling a little weird, but I generally had good fun with it. If your brain is underdeveloped and you're stuck in a library in an elementary school with an iMac like I was, this game might be for you. One vivid memory from that iMac was the keyboard was yellow. When you get a bunch of greasy, goopy kid hands all over a iMac keyboard, it kind of turns to a unpleasant yellow. I wanted an excuse to play this and to answer your questions, which I know you're all thinking right now. Are 5 randomly selected islands in the 2007 game Poptropica really that good from the perspective of someone I don't know on the internet? Let's see if we can get an answer to that question there. Before I start, I did want to mention when I booted this game up, it had an error immediately, and I needed to go to a really scary looking website that was somehow owned by Samsung and download Adobe Air. Yeah, the website in any other scenario would probably give you a virus, but in this case, it just looked really scary and was fine, so. I began this spiritual journey with Arabian Nights. This was released in 2014 in 3 different separate episodes. There's probably a Half-Life joke there. I just don't want to make it. Each island has a brief synopsis to kind of capture the audience, put you in this rich environment of storytelling and wonder. So here's Arabian Nights. After 40 thieves ransack his city, a desperate sultan has one request: find the thieves' lair and bring back his most cherished possession. So I spawn in a desert next to an old guy. We chatted for a bit and he tells me there's these 40 thieves, they have an outpost, and I need to go find it. The best advice I get is that there's an old cave and they might be hanging out there. So I start going to this old cave and I'm really engaged in this experience. I don't know why it wasn't that interesting.
You can't stop me. I'm crazy. Going crazy. I'm sneaking around. I'm sneaking.
The cave itself was actually kind of dead. There was a couple scorpions hanging out. They hit me a few times. I pushed some boxes and eventually reached a dead guy holding a bag of salt.
Oh my god, that guy dead. Salt.
I made my way out of the cave and headed towards the other side of the map, and I found a village. And this village had a few different NPCs to talk to, 3 of which were merchants of some sort. You'd trade stuff with them. And this is like one of the main gameplay things of Arabian Nights. You just trade between these 3 people items until you get something better. It's kind of like those YouTube videos where people be like, I turned $1 into 100 in a week, and they kind of just convinced an idiot to give them something worth more than $1. I eventually had the idea to put some salt out as bait for the thieves to see if they'd steal it, because obviously this salt has some value. So, and bam, there they are. They're going for my salt like crazy. They're feral for that shit. Yeah, they took it and they left a smoke bomb behind so I could go grab that, and I did that. And then from there I used the smoke bomb to throw it on some guards. This took me way too long. I spent, I don't know, it probably took me like 7 minutes to get these stupid guards to get smoke bombed correctly. You have to like wait for them to talk to each other closer and then throw it so it hits both of them and then sneak past them. And the weird part is you talk to the Sultan after that. He's like behind the door they're guarding, and he's just like, hey, I have this expensive gem, use it to go get my lamp. Why did your guards hate me so much? You're like, are we like pals? I know we just started Poptropica, but the dialogue in this game in general is just really weird. Instead of people being like people who have like things that they care about and like stuff to talk about, they're kind of just like walking information signs that kind of just point you vaguely in a direction, and then that's all they're for. The thieves showed up and threw a smoke bomb on this old man, and he has nothing new to say. He's just like, go to the cave still. Like, I already went to the cave, man. You just had smoke bombs thrown at you. Do you have anything to say? I wish the dialogue was a little more dynamic. I know I'm playing Poptropica, but come on, I can critique it a little. Now, if I was in the position where a very rich man gave me an expensive jewel, I would call that a success and just end it there. Instead, I have to go out of my way to trade this gem for a pearl, trade that pearl for a statue of a camel, then trade that statue of a camel for an actual camel, bring the actual camel to the thief stealing circle where I just put my salt, and watch the thieves slowly walk this camel over to the oasis where they say the words "open sesame" and a stone animal head rises out of the oasis and they go in it. So that's where the thieves' base is. It's in the oasis. So I go over there and say "open sesame." And that's episode 1. Episode 2. Episode 2 was much more annoying in my opinion. It started off with this guy needing to take this lamp up to a statue. He's like being forced to, like he doesn't want to do this, right? He's being forced to do this. He brings it up there and the statue disintegrates him. That sucks, I guess. I mean, that's a bummer. This whole episode was just being in the thieves' base, breaking out of a jail cell, making a disguise, breaking another guy out of a jail cell. But instead of me describing it in like a sentence, it took like an hour. I nearly forgot that all of it ended with a grand escape that was pretty much one-to-one the Donkey Kong arcade game. Okay, I'm assuming someone watching this video has played a video game where you can jump, right? Like, you press a button, you press space, you press A, I don't know what the button is, you just press a button and you jump. It's that simple. But in Poptropica, that's just too easy, I guess. So you have to use your mouse cursor to aim up and then click and hold, or just like click up above you to jump. And trying to do this while like running from a guy and trying to avoid barrels, it feels terrible. Like, you can watch my mouse cursor move around. Like the maneuvers you have to do to just jump in this game are so stupid and it's so iffy. After being assaulted by barrels, I make it to the top to only discover that I'm just going to be captured again anyway. And then I'm told to bring a lamp up to the statue like the guy who got disintegrated, but I know what the right lamp is. They don't know that. So I bring the right lamp up and then the genie comes out of the lamp and then the genie flies away. All right, listen. This genie is pissing me off, all right? Genies can't leave the lamp, or they can only leave a certain distance. There has to be a genie to lamp radius, like a maximum here. He can't just be that far away, right? I firmly believe this is not possible, and I'm honestly upset that you even tried to pull this. Episode 3 kicks off, and it's pretty much episode 1. I do a lot of like trading back and forth items, but this time I'm doing it to catch the genie. So I trade back and forth and eventually get all the items to make a potion. I don't know why there's potions now, but whatever. This potion I accidentally drop onto a carpet, turning it into a magic flying carpet. Wow. This carpet also functions as a get stuck in the air and spin in circles magic carpet too, because I had to restart the game because I got stuck floating in circles. This intense story all wrapped up to a climactic end, and I know you're not ready for this. You're not ready for this. The Sultan captures the genie for me, and he makes a wish. He says, I want to like not be rich anymore, or some shit. I didn't enjoy Arabian Nights. Trading items back and forth felt really tedious and honestly is barely a gameplay feature. It just wasn't really fun. I think the moral of the story is supposed to be like money can't buy you happiness and whatever, and that's cool, but everyone knows that you can buy this little mouse in a peanut car on Amazon, and that is objectively happiness. That is buying happiness. Arabian Nights is a 5 out of 10 genie lamps. I wouldn't recommend this one. Don't play it. Next up is a certified Poptropica classic, 24 Karat. This released in 2008, so about a year after the game came out. And I actually remember playing this one as a kid, so I was pumped. I was excited for this. People are going missing, and the carrots are disappearing. It's up to you to get to the bottom of this mystery. Similar to the previous island, this one starts with a town in disarray, but instead of an old man telling me about it, it's the mayor of the town, and he's crying, like a lot. He tells me that the decrease in carrot production at the carrot factory has caused this whole place to get into economic failure, which feels a little too potent at the very moment. Then I started doing my thing, you know, I'm walking around town, talking to a few people, trying to figure out what I have to do here to fix this carrot problem. First up was this waitress with a pitcher of milk. She didn't say much at all, which again is pretty much every conversation in Poptropica. They just kind of tell you blatantly what to do or don't really say anything useful at all. This diner that she worked in did have an immaculate vibe though. I really enjoyed the environment of it, you know, that old school kind of old-timey diner thing. It's nice, it's a good time. The only problem was there was a missing person board in the back and it had 4 people on it. I just wanted to get like some hash browns and some pancakes. I don't want to know that little Timmy's missing. I left that building because I no longer wanted to be sad, and the next place I stopped was a hardware store. Here this lady was missing her cat named Whiskers, and I have to go find this cat, so I'll keep that in mind. I'll look out for a cat. Before I went looking for Whiskers, though, I wanted to stop by this carrot factory. You know, it's the source of all these problems. Let's dig into it a little bit. I head over there. It's not looking good. There's like goop on it. There's weird green goop. I don't know what the goop has to do with it. Why is there goop on it? Why is there goop on it? I don't get why there's goop on it. I make my way around back and find this vent that I can't pry off with my hands, and then I remember that hardware store lady told me she'd give me a crowbar if I found her cat. So you can connect the points there. I have to find this cat, get a crowbar, open the vent with the crowbar. So I have to go find this cat. I make my way to the other side of the map, find a little house with a little bit of paw prints on the roof. Ooh, who could that be? It's the cat. So I go in there. Yeah, the cat's hiding, doesn't want to come out, but I do notice an empty glass bowl. And you know what I could fill that bowl up with? Milk from the waitress earlier. So I bring the bowl to the waitress and I put the bowl back down. Whiskers comes out, starts drinking it. Whiskers obviously is in love with me now that I gave him milk. And I bring it back to the lady, get the crowbar, and head into the factory. Ooh. Once I get through the hatch, there's a platforming puzzle. This is a staple of Poptropica, and I don't know how to feel about them. It just doesn't feel that good. Like, it's just kind of weird to do still. I just don't like how you move in this game, and I don't know if I'll ever really get used to it. It's just odd. Once I get in the factory, I turn on a few switches and a 10 Tricks Point Never song starts to play, I guess. I don't know, it was some weird ambient shit going on there. This led to a dark vent room, and I actually found the map for the vents earlier. So I wandered around there and just kind of found things to do. I eventually ran into someone in the factory who had a hypnotizing, mind-controlling bunny hat on. So I told them to turn around and took the hat off of them because the power button's on the back. So you tell them to turn around, you press the button, ba-bam. It's actually one of the people on the missing person board earlier. And you know, that really created that interest for me. I was like, oh, that's why they had that earlier, to really point to this moment where I find them. That's actually kind of cool. It has some character building, some foreshadowing. That's smart. I did a few other things to progress. I walked around and got like some wire cutters, and then I got teleported by a flying bunny head thing. Eventually I got to the big reveal. A giant robot bunny made by Dr. Hare, the villain of this whole thing. He's using the carrots to make rocket fuel to shoot this giant bunny into space and mind control everybody from space. So it's kind of like Starlink, but fueled by carrots and made by a less annoying man. I launched the robot into space, and instead of letting it freely make it to space, I would ram it into asteroids along the way, destroying it before it can mind control everybody. And that was the end of the island. I saved the world, I fixed the carrot factory, and I enjoyed this one a lot more. It was a lot less filler and felt like the right length for what these islands are trying to do. It took me maybe like 30 minutes to beat this. And I don't know, I just like that shorter length. I think they do everything they need to in a really good amount of time. Everything clicks into place and is introduced in a good order so that you're not ever like confused on where you need to go. I do remember getting lost in the vents as a kid because they're dark and I must have not found the map or something. But the problem with that is that I was like stupid as a kid. 24 karat is definitely better than Arabian Nights, though I might have some bias since I did try this when I was younger. But let's be honest, I would never do anything because I was swindled by nostalgia, right? That would never. I played Poptropica mostly because I was swindled by nostalgia. I give it 8 out of 10 carrots. What goes up must come down. And oh boy, did it come down on this one. You know that roller coaster at Six Flags that goes like up really far and it takes forever, and you go like back down really fast and it's crazy? I think it's called the King Ka or something like that. That was the trajectory of Poptropica so far. Poptropicon was the worst I played while doing this, hands down. This released in 2014 and seems to be emulating some sort of Comic-Con-like event. There's like superheroes and stuff, people are dressing up, and there's an event hall and all that. Poptropicon is the hottest ticket in town. It'll take all your wits and more than a few disguises to crash the party. So my first goal is to get a free ticket into this event hall because I don't have one. So I find this person who has 2 tickets. They're holding one for their friend, but they don't know where their friend is. They're dressed up as a wizard. And this is where the whole thing with Poptropicon comes in. You use this tool called like the wardrobe customizer or something. I don't remember, but there's a little button in the menu and you can select any NPC on screen and choose pieces of their costume to dress up as. It's actually a really cool tool for Poptropica because then you can be like, oh, I like that person's like clothes. I'll just take that piece of it. It's cool for customizing your character. But as a gameplay mechanic, it's miserable. So I have to find each part of this wizard outfit, which is spread across the map on a variety of different NPCs. Each of them have one piece of it, and I have to go find them all. So I get all these pieces together to get this wizard outfit. I find most of them like relatively easy. I don't know, it took me a while. And I can't find this hat anywhere. I look around, I can't find it. I finally discover that I can get on top of the event building roof, which why would anyone be able to do that like reasonably? This lady has the stupid wizard hat. She's just on the roof. How did she get on the roof? I don't know. Once I get the outfit fully pieced together, I pray that I never have to do something like this again in my life. And then I ask the person where my ticket is, and she asks me where my offer is. So I guess I need something else. It turns out the thing I need to get is in a porta potty. Do you want to know everything that I had to do to get into this porta potty to get a replica of Thor's hammer out of it? The answer is yes, you do, because this is my video and I'm telling you anyway. First, I had to find the name of the actor who plays Thor in the Poptropica universe. So I talk to this person and then walk literally to the other side of the entire level, which takes way longer than you'd think it does. Click on a billboard with Thor on it, and then run all the way back and tell them. The next person basically does the same thing. They need to know when the costume contest starts today. So I go back a little bit. It's not the full length of the map, but it's a decent amount. And I click on a sign that says when it's happening. It's at like noon or something. And then I go back to the person. There we go, that's that one. The third person amps up the stakes a little and tells me to go find the power amulet on the cheetah person, or whatever their name was. And then I have to race this cheetah person up a water tower to get the power amulet. And I do that and it's fine. It took me a little bit, but it wasn't fun. Then I had to get an alien mask by translating into a fake alien language to talk to someone. And I'm gonna be honest, I just guessed on all of these answers. I completely guessed. I have no idea what I clicked. And I somehow clicked the right 3 things in a row. I'm so glad because I honestly was about to quit playing the game at this point.
Oh my god, I just fucking guessed. I was just guessing. Oh, thank god.
Finally, the last person wanted me to get them a new jetpack, so I had to like craft a piece of their costume set at this crafting bench and then bring it to them, and then they flew away. I finally get Thor's hammer out of the porta potty and I bring it over to the lady who wanted it originally, and she tells me she doesn't want it anymore because it was in a porta potty. This was so dumb. What a waste of time. It took me an hour to do this. I could have beat 2 24 carats in the time I ran around trying to look like a wizard to get Thor's hammer. Another thing I forgot to mention is that Poptropica has these in-between rooms between areas. They're like these little halls to bridge gaps between areas. I'll show some on screen. They're almost everywhere. Sometimes they don't show up, but I honestly think that's when they forget to put them there. And I don't know why they're real. Is the game loading while I'm doing this? I don't think it is, because there's 2 loading screens when you go into the room and out of it. So I don't think it's loading anything. It's just like a waste of my time. Anyway, that's episode 1 of Poptropicon. It's episode 1 of 3. Episode 2 began with me smashing through a window by catapulting myself into the event area. This dude just watched a man dressed as Thor fly through the largest window in this building and said, "Hey, the contest is later. Come back." Like, arrest me. What? From here on out, Poptropica actually becomes a bit more bearable. It's about time. I was hired by a wacky, nerdy news company to try to figure out what the new Poptropica Thanos villain was, basically. There's like this super villain guy, and I gotta figure out who the super villain guy is. I begin my investigation. My goal is to find 3 pieces of the villain's costume in a variety of different ways. The first of which was by dressing up as an elf archer lady, and then I get into another room and see like the helmet or whatever it was. Another piece of the costume I found on the phone of a competing news outlet, which is very interesting. And the last one was from playing a card game, and this card game was the savior of Poptropica. Was it a little bare bones? Yeah, but when you spend the last hour of your life dressing up as fake superheroes in Poptropica, shit Hearthstone is honestly a godsend. Once I got all the pieces, I returned to the news guy who hired me, and he gave me a perfect replica of this villain. And I'm ready for the costume contest. I'm gonna go win this thing with my perfect replica of the villain. And I almost did until the actual real supervillain teleported into the scene on stage and then took over the world. Episode 3 now. Episode 3 was by far the best one. It gave you a bunch of abilities that you'd use to solve puzzles, and then you'd unlock more abilities to do more complex puzzles. It was a good time. Yeah, it was like laser beam puzzles and like shooting buttons and stuff. Poptropica wraps up with a really fun little boss fight where you use all those puzzle solving abilities to take down the boss and save the world. If this one was just episode 2 and 3, I think I would be able to say it's like good. It's fine, you know? But episode 1 was so bad and such a waste of time that I actually think it made everything else so much worse. I'm gonna give Poptropica 3 out of 10 porta potties. That was terrible. After doing another episodic island, I was really tired of these being longer. I didn't like these longer ones. They're just annoying to me. So I decided to take a break from those and try out Time Tangled Island. This released in 2008, just before 24 Karat, and since I enjoyed 24 Karat, I thought maybe I'd enjoy this one too. A malfunctioning time machine has messed up history. Go back in time and set things right, because if you don't, who knows what the future will hold. I walk over and I'm greeted by a crying person, and they tell me to go into a lab and that I have to save time itself. I have been in this for less than a minute, but alright. So I power up this time machine by pushing the world's largest plug into an outlet and hop in. And before we go any further, I want you to close your eyes for me, all right? And I want you to think of what Poptropica's version of the future would look like. All right, you got it? You got your Poptropica future in mind? Good, now let's look at what it actually looks like. Yep. Things got even more terrifying when I walk a little bit and find my Poptropica character, but 50 years in the future, which was like actually kind of sick. Like that's me. Future old me hands young past me a little stopwatch, and I can use it to go back in time to different time periods in history. In the first area, they tell me they need their golden vase back, and it is locked in a cave somewhere, and I'm gonna have to blow it open with gunpowder. Now, they tell me gunpowder is at a large stone wall, and obviously everyone knows historically there's not really any stone wall bigger than the limestone wall at the Royal Military College of Canada. I mean, where else would it be? So I go to the Great Wall of China and I walk up to a guy and he says, "We mix sticky rice and lime to make mortar for the bricks." And I wanna be honest, I thought this joke was like kinda in bad taste at first, gonna be real. I was like, it's not funny, man, that's just kinda stupid. But I looked it up, and that's literally how they made the mortar for the wall, which is honestly cool. Like, I learned something about history in Poptropica. What? From there, I don't really want to go through everything I did, because it was basically that. I would go to a place, find the thing that shouldn't be there, and bring it to the place it needed to be. And it would tell me when I repaired that area. Like, it'd be like timeline repaired or whatever, and then I'd move on to the next one. And then once you've done all those, you fix it and you beat the area. Some people I met Leonardo da Vinci, I met damn-ass Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, I met Lewis and Clark, Thomas Edison, I saw the Statue of Liberty get put together, and I also saw the guy who first climbed Mount Everest, which is kind of a neat one. I wouldn't have thought about putting that in there for like historical things, but that's cool. With all the timelines repaired, I went back to the future, and as you can imagine, now it's actually like the typical utopian future thing that you'd expect. But the best part is there's tons of public transport, and there's a robot that serves me grape juice. And I met up with old me again in my apartment or whatever and got the medallion for the island. I beat it. It was a good time. I haven't mentioned this yet, but Poptropica's music is actually surprisingly good. Like, especially in Time Tangled Island, it's super well made. I couldn't really believe how good it is. I can just appreciate when a browser game takes a little simple concept, makes it a little educational for kids, and does it well. I genuinely liked this. I'd give it 9 out of 10 Thomas Jeffersons shitting the bed. I wanted to end this Poptropica experience with a bang. I didn't want to go out not trying the hardest this game had to offer, so I decided to do Escape from Pelican Rock, which had a 3 out of 3 skulls difficulty. Will I be able to conquer such a difficult task in this children's browser video game? We'll see. Pelican Rock is the toughest prison ever built, and after you're framed for a crime you didn't commit, it's your new home. Use your wits to devise an escape plan, and your nerve to pull it off. But getting out is just the beginning, because the real criminal is still out there. This one starts out with a guy stealing some money, you know, the actual thief, and my Poptropica character decides to chase them. They frame me, and then I'm sent to prison, which is Pelican Rock. I'm assuming it's kind of based off of Alcatraz, but it's for kids. Not that kids should be there though. I just meant it's in a kids. Don't put kids in prison. Here I was introduced to my cell and a daily schedule that I had to go by. The day was split up into 4 pieces: recreation, work time, meal time, and bedtime. The structure is just repeating your daily schedule over and over while making progress in between each part to escape the prison. Recreation is where you're outside and you hang out with some people. Work is where you make license plates for the government in exchange for the prison's currency, sticks of gum. Pretty much all of the progress on Pelican Rock came from getting one thing from one part of the day and bringing it to another. So I got a spoon for mealtime, I brought it to work time, and chipped away at it with a tool to make it sharp. And now I could use that during lockdown to open up a vent by like chipping away at the edges of it. I was kind of expecting stuff like this, you know, the stereotypes of like prison break stuff. You get a spoon and you sharpen it and you use it as a tool or whatever. But things get more absurd as time goes on. I befriended a few people in a variety of interesting ways. One guy wanted 3 eggs, which I collected from a bird every day. The most absurd thing that I did was I got a cup of plaster at some point and mixed it with mashed potatoes, which turned it into this substance that could be chipped away at or like sculpted into a model of my character's head, which I then took to the guy who paints and made him paint it like my head. And then I would put it in my bed at night to make the guard think I was sleeping when in reality I was trying to break out of prison. It might sound like I dislike this absurdity that the game brings when you make a mashed potato version of your head, but no, it's funny and cool and like I'm down with it. But the biggest gripe I have is you waste a lot of time. Sometimes you just don't get things when you need them, or you have to wait till you're in a certain part of the day. This led to a lot of days being wasted and not getting to do everything I wanted to. Eventually, I combined all of my efforts to plan a grand escape. I had an electric mixer that I got from the chef, and I turned it into an electric drill. I had the mashed potato version of my face, obviously, so I was ready to escape. And then there was this escape sequence where I had to run on the rooftops and hide behind stuff when like spotlights would shine, so to just don't go in the light, basically. It ended with guards and the warden almost finding me. I'm hiding behind a barrel and they're walking towards me. And this guy with the worst haircut of all time is about to like put me in prison forever. And that sucks. But Morgan Freeman's bird flies into scene. The bird lets out the most underwhelming noise a bird could ever make, distracting the guard tower, letting me escape the island. Now, I have no idea why there was so much security on top of this building, but not in the water surrounding the prison. Like, that's the easiest way you could spot someone escaping the prison is the open water where there's a boat leaving the island. After that, I had to go capture the person who framed me, so I did a platforming sequence and stuff, and eventually proved my innocence and captured the actual booted bandit who framed me previously. But the best part was that I got to put a little word in for my friends in the Pelican Rock prison, and I got to see Morgan Freeman and the painter outside of prison, which was kind of cool. Escape from Pelican Rock was good. Definitely one of the more solid new options for islands. I didn't really like the schedule system. It was kind of annoying, and I had to waste a lot of time. But I do like the problem solving of it, where you have to like kind of piece things together in different times of the day. It's neat and a little different for the game. Overall, I'd give Pelican Rock a 7 out of 10 mashed potato heads. Not my favorite, but definitely a good time. In the end, I actually enjoyed Poptropica more than I thought I would. Usually these kids games, you know, you imagine them in your head as like these really fun things like Club Penguin, and then you like go back to Club Penguin and you're like, what did I do when I played this all day? But coming to Poptropica, I really like these bite-sized little stories that you'd go in, solve them, and you're done. It's just a really nice structure. I hope you enjoyed watching me talk about Poptropica for what is likely going to be like a 30-minute video. I have to go edit it now, so I'm gonna go do that. But I hope you enjoyed, and you know, have a great rest of your day. I'll see you when I see you. Have a good holiday. I go now. Bye-bye.